little scientists, it's Miss Victoria from the Ridgewood Public Library. Have you heard the saying, April showers bring May flowers? Well, last month, for the month of April, we did a little scientist experiment about the rain cycle. And this time, for the month of May, we are going to experiment with flowers. We're actually going to be extracting dye or coloring from flowers. And look, I'm even wearing my bright flowery top just for the occasion.
Of course, flowers are the most important part of our experiment. Here are some that I collected from my yard and while walking around my neighborhood. Some of these flowers are from plants and some are from trees. I don't know what they're all called, but I thought they were pretty. And I made sure to pick blooms and petals that had fallen on the ground, since I didn't want to damage anyone's flowers. In addition to the flowers, there are a few basic items that we need for our experiment. Ziploc bags, the snack size is fine. A Pyrex measuring cup to put our water in. We are actually going to heat that water, so please have some assistance from a grown-up so you don't hurt yourself. We also need a rolling pin, a mesh strainer, some clear jars or glasses, a paintbrush, and a piece of white paper, paper towel, and fabric if you have any. These should all be white so that the colors show very clearly on them. And now for our setup. The first thing we're going to do is remove the stems and leaves and place the petals of each type of flower into individual unsealed Ziploc bags. Next, we're going to heat some water in the microwave using our Pyrex measuring cup. The heat will help to draw out the color from the flower petals. Next, we'll pour just enough water into each bag to cover the petals, then seal the bags. Then we're going to use the rolling pin to mash the flowers, being careful not to damage the bag because we don't want the bags to leak. Next, we'll let the bag sit for a few hours, allowing the dye from the flowers to be released into the water. Then we're going to gather as many clear jars as we need to match the number of flower bags we have assembled. Using a strainer to separate the petals, we'll pour the water from each bag into a clear jar. Finally, we'll dip a paintbrush into the colored water and test out the natural watercolors on a piece of white paper, paper towel, or the fabric swatch. You can also dip the swatch directly into the dye, which is what I did, and I will show you what that looks like. I ended up with 11 jars, 10 with dyes from petals of different flowers and 1 with the dye product from stems and leaves. Wasn't it amazing to see the variety of different colors in all the jars? When I dipped the paintbrush in the dyes and painted on the white paper, the results were very light lines, not very impressive. Surprisingly, green was the most obvious color, and that was one of the lighter ones. In some cases, the dye in the jar was very different from the color produced on paper, and even from the color of the flower petal. The paper towel and pieces of fabric actually absorbed the dye, so the colors were more visible. I decided to cut up 6 pieces of white fabric and soak them in some random jars. The rich burgundy dye produced by the red tropical flowers was the most impressive result. Now you'll see a summary of my results based on the flowers that I selected for this experiment. When you do this on your own, you can pick out some of the same flowers or you can try different ones. But whatever you do, it seems that the best results come from the brightest flowers. To finish off today's experiment, I wanted to share a few fun facts with you. Did you know that until the mid-1800s, plants were the primary source of dye? Today, dye pigments are most often produced through chemistry. They are more easily transferred to fibers or fabric, they don't require as much time to prepare, and they stand up better to repeated washing and exposure to sunlight. Many artisans and crafters still use natural dye because of its impurities. Natural dyes can create rich and sometimes unexpected and unique colors, like we saw in our experiment. There are also many other items that contain natural dye besides flowers. Some good examples that come to mind are red beets, purple cabbage, and red onion. Also, as we learned, dye can be extracted from other parts of the flower besides the petals, the leaves, stem, and roots. Nuts and berries are also common sources of natural dye. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning about natural dyes and that you have fun experimenting with them on your own. I look forward to seeing you for our next Little Scientist experiment soon. Bye!